Hello, guys. Yevgeny Prigozhin, the head of Wagner Group, who last weekend almost took Moscow, he released last night the audio answering some questions about what was it, what the aims of this rebellion were, what they were doing. So, and he was saying that in this, first of all, he is ex-convict, and these guys are very um, good at crafting some stories. So you should never listen to what they are saying, because most of all, most of the time, it is bullshit. And you can see from his answers that it is bullshit. So first, he said the purpose of the campaign was to prevent the destruction of Wagner Group and to hold accountable those individuals who made numerous mistakes during the so-called special military operation. Then it seems that all these aims were not reached, were not achieved, because you can see that Wagner Group will be dispersed. And also there will be no accountability to. We know who he was talking about Shoigu and Gerasimov, and during all his so-called truth videos before this ill-fated rebellion, he was saying that everybody is guilty except Putin, who is the real culprit. So he is criticizing anybody without, making the last step and saying that the guy at the top is the main culprit of that. So he was saying that this move to make the Wagner Group, Wagner personnel to sign contracts with Russian Ministry of Defense, and then to put them to disperse them into into the general Russian army, will lead to some the capabilities, the unique capabilities that Wagner Group has, will be lost, because they will be absorbed by the Russian army, and that's it. They will cease to exist as a separate force, and these capabilities that they have will be lost. And because of that, he was marching peacefully to Moscow. Well, he was not saying peacefully, but he was saying that they were not shedding any blood on the ground, because we all know that his forces shut down some helicopters and at least one airplane. And he is forgetting that well, he actually mentioned it, but he just glossed over the fact that the blood was shed. The blood of his own people was shed, because what triggered, as they say, this march was the strike on his base the day before, on 23rd, I think, of June. They released this video, this Blair Witch Project video, with some with the aftermath of the strike on his base, and said that, well, they are attacking us, so we are going to attack them. And again, everybody knows that it was a fake video. It was something fake, and this march was planned beforehand. They had at least 1 month to prepare. Since the time they left Bakhmut, they were preparing for this march, and the aim of this operation was not about Wagner. It was about Prigozhin himself. He wanted to make sure that he will survive this. The conflict between him and Ministry of Defense was such that they didn't want to let his mercenaries go from Wagner from Bakhmut, sorry, and they wanted all of them to die there, and to so that the weapon that he has in the form of this mercenary group they are not actually mercenaries. They are part and parcel of Russian. They are fully supplied by Russian Ministry of Defense, with who they are having this quarrel. But well, they didn't want to have him this leverage, this weapon in this form of Wagner Group. They wanted it to be demolished, and him to be dead, actually. So his march was not to for Wagner Group to survive. It was for Prigozhin himself to survive. And right now, nobody knows where he is. He's not in Belarus, as was claimed that he was. As it is claimed. So, about second part, about making accountable people who made some mistakes. We know that he's saying about Gerasimov and Shoigu, and there are a lot of rumors about that they will be he actually achieved his games and his aims, and these people will be dismissed shortly and changed for people who are loyal or who are allies of Prigozhin. For Dumin, as the Ministry of Defense, he was a former bodyguard of Putin, and for Surovikin as Chief of General Staff. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. It will never happen. The thing is that this ill-fated rebellion from Prigozhin showed Putin that Shoigu was right all the time. That when he was saying that Prigozhin is nothing but trouble, he was right. So there is no reason for Putin to dismiss Shoigu, and we saw that the video of him, Shoigu, the video of Shoigu, who was visiting some kind of military near the front lines. Well, near for them it is near. If it is 200 kilometers from front lines, it is really on the very front lines. So meaning that he is not banned. Shoigu is not banned from showing by the state media. He is shown as a guy who is on his place, and nothing is happening to him. And between capable and loyal, Putin will always take loyal. And Shoigu showed that he is loyal. And he was right all the time, all along about Prigozhin, that Prigozhin is trouble. Prigozhin is not loyal. He was right, and he will be. The Putin will not going to dismiss him, and and never he's going to put some people who are allies of Prigozhin instead of Shoigu. That's just unthinkable. This is copium who consumed by the Prigozhin fans in media. So this is about that. The aim was not to prevent dispersal of destruction of Wagner and to hold accountable. Wagner will be dispersed. All the billboard with the advertisement for recruitment is destroyed. What it was started to be destroyed during the march to Moscow, and it is forbidden to mention Wagner Group. The people of Wagner will be absorbed by military of defense, and and some of them will go to Belarus to do what? About Belarus, there were some rumors that all this was a clever special operation to to move Wagner Group from Donetsk region to Belarus, and then from Belarus to attack Ukraine and take Kiev in the manner that almost lead to capture of Moscow. So that in the same manner they will march to Kiev as they did to Moscow, and will take, with the help and with the aid of Belarus army, they will take Kiev. That's bullshit. It will never happen. It's again some kind of copium. Or first, there was no need to move Wagner Group from Donbass to Belarus. There was no need of all this bullshit, of all this march to Moscow, of destroying that amount of Russian aircraft, killing trained pilots with it. It was not worth all of that. That's the first thing. The second thing is just remember, at the end of the war, Russians tried to capture Kiev, and they had about 40,000 people, elite forces, with all the new kit. I mean, all the equipment they had was new, and it was the complete kit of equipment. So if, for example, that regiment have to have that many tanks, it had it, and it were the tanks were latest model that were available at the moment. Or, for example, if they need to have according to to their roster that many BMPs, they had it. So all these elite forces near Kiev were bled dry, were exhausted, expanded, and within months they fled with quite significant losses from that. We have seen this column of Wagner going to Moscow. It was enough to go to Moscow, but to go to Kiev, it's just not adequate. Because what we saw some flatbed trucks with tanks and BMPs. We saw some pickups. We saw a lot of Oasics. It was like ISIS force, and it will not. It's not going to cut the mustard against the Ukrainian army. It will be destroyed. It will be smashed. They will not go 10 kilometers in our territory before they will be destroyed. That's absolutely inadequate. And also, don't forget that this army spent tens of thousands of Wagner Group, tens of thousands of convicts. Unspeakable amount of artillery shells, and 10 months to capture one small city. And they captured it, almost captured. They left the very entrance to the city, and after they captured it, what was the result? What was the further development of this? It was a dead end. This for Russian army. It was. So they captured the Bakhmut, and then what? What perspectives it opened before Wagner and Russian army? Nothing. Wagner then said that okay, we captured it. Then now we can go away from there, and you deal with you Russian army deal with consequences of our um, of us capturing Bakhmut. You developed further it, but it was dead end from the beginning. It had no strategic significance. So all these talks about Wagner Group consolidating in Belarus and then going to Kiev. No, it's not going to happen. Then what he said, Prigozhin, in his audio, he said that PMC Wagner fighters were not forced to participate. Everybody knew what they were doing and how it will end, and they did it voluntarily. I don't know, and I don't care actually. Then he said that Wagner that he regrets that his group has to strike the Russian airspace forces. Again, it is a big. It means that, well, what his rebellion showed, that if you have enough forces and if you can scare enough Vladimir Putin, you can get away with murder quite easily. And he murdered at least 15 trained personnel, which were quite expensive people, and all the criminal cases that were made against him for treason, from mutiny, were dropped. But actually, there was a news that it was actually not dropped. But still. Then he said that they didn't want to. The two factors influenced the decision to halt this march. They didn't want to shed Russian blood, and during his audio recording, he was stressing many times that they have not shed any Russian blood, meaning the blood of regular Russian forces, on the ground, meaning not in the air. Yeah, we had to shoot down several Russian aircrafts, but we have not actually killed any Russian military on the ground. Any of the ground forces were not killed. He's emphasizing that because he cannot emphasize that he has not. This on the ground part he's emphasizing because he cannot say that he haven't spilled Russian blood. He had, because he killed those pilots and other, because not everybody was pilot on board of the aircraft that were shot down, and so he cannot say that he haven't spilled Russian blood. So he's saying that I haven't spilled it on the ground. And if he spilled it, he killed somebody on the ground, he would say, I have not spilled the blood of Russian conscripts, or whatever. He will narrow down to his definition of spilling blood to the group that he hasn't killed yet. And about spilling blood and all of this, that it could lead to bloodshed and everything. Since when? It's bullshit. Since when he was cautious or hesitant to spill Russian blood? He spilled it a lot. And we know that his forces were executioners. Since 2014, they were killing off the people who were not in line with Russia. So they spilled maybe as much or maybe even more than Ukrainians of Russian blood. So it's all bullshit. It's just nice words and without any substance behind them. And also he claims that they didn't aim to overthrow the government. They were just peaceful protests. They were demonstrating that we can, and it was not our aim to demonstrate. So if it happens so that we cannot achieve our aims, then we can say that it was not our plan. Yeah, it's all bullshit. And then he said that Lukashenko extended hand and offered to find a solution for the continuation of Wagner Group, to the continuation of the operations of Wagner. I don't know about that. There were some news that they are going to make some military camp or field camp for Wagner people, and also I will say a little bit about Putin address that was also last night. During this address, Putin said that anybody from Wagner Group who wants can sign contract with Military of Defense of Russian Federation, or they can go to Belarus. So, well, maybe they will accumulate some of Wagner people. But don't forget that quite a lot of Wagner fighters, they are very disillusioned about Prigozhin. And this thing that he did, that he stopped, that he was not going to the end, going through with his aims, not going all the way to Moscow. There is a lot of frustration with him among Wagner Group, among other military detachments of regular Russian military who were ready to support him, and some of them even voiced their support for them, and now they are in trouble. And since then, they again voiced their disappointment with Prigozhin, that he was all the talk and no action. Okay, so then in the evening, this guy, Vladimir Putin, addressed the nation, and and this address was advertised beforehand by his speaker for him, Peskov, was advertised that it is a sensational address that will how to say it, that will shape the fate of the Russia for future generations. They were such big words. Then so that some people started to speculate that he will say that Shoigu and Gerasimov will be dismissed, that Dumin and Surovikin will be put on their place, and that Wagner, that Prigozhin won at the end, and we will be proven right when we said that actually Prigozhin, he reached his aims. His march led to changes in Russian government, or at least the changes in the people who are leading this war against Ukraine. But it was again, as they say, the mountain gave birth to a mouse, meaning that his Putin's address, was very anticlimactic. He said already what was said previously by Peskov. He said that the enemy, and the address was very short, 6 minutes only. So he said that enemies of Russia wanted the country to drown in blood, in bloody civil war, but they miscalculated. Well, and of course, yeah, we wanted to see the Russian civil war. We wanted to see them killing each other. So there is nothing new. Then he said that an armed rebellion would have been suppressed in any case. So okay, well, yeah, it was not goodwill of Prigozhin. We would want he was not sparing me. We would prevail in any case. So yeah, I'm a victor here. Any blackmail and turmoil are doomed to fail. And also he said that Wagner members would have the option to sign a contract with the Russian Ministry of Defense or go to Belarus. But there are already some rumors that Wagner people are, some of them are being arrested. Okay, and there are some reactions to that. Okay, well, is this all? That's reaction of that bloggers, that male bloggers, his fans of the fans of Putin, and they said, okay, well, is it all? What was that? Vova, meaning Vladimir, Vova, are you fucked in the head? No, really, it was all, completely all, and that's all. That's all. Okay, I'm naive sucker. Let's move on. Yeah, really shapes the fate. No, well, okay. So meaning that it was very anticlimactic. They were expecting something much more dramatic, but it was not so. And okay, some comments. Putin has no balls, just like Shoigu. Let's go away. We were fucked. We were fucking conned or something like that. It's a shame. You know, everybody were underwhelmed by this because it was it was advertised as some life-changing speech, but it was just bullshit. So, well, I think that I will finish this video saying that both Prigozhin and Putin lost in this confrontation, because Putin was shown to be weak, to be afraid, and that any force with several thousand people and some military equipment can shake the foundation of Russia. And Prigozhin was shown to be weak because he stopped before reaching his aims, and all that he's saying now that he actually reached his aims is bullshit, and everybody knows it. And he was at the height during this during his rebellion, during this march to Moscow. He was at the very height of his popularity. Everybody, even his opponents, were respecting the balls to do that. But at the end, when he stopped, he just lost all this media capital that he collected over the many months before, when he was crafting his image. It was all lost. But maybe not completely all, but much of this capital was lost. Then who is winning? I think Shoigu and Gerasimov are winning. Shoigu proved to be loyal to Putin. He will not be dismissed in any, I think, any foreseeable future. He showed that he was right again in his conflict with Prigozhin. He was right because he said that this separate military force should not exist. It should be absorbed into Russian military. And at the war, just a couple of words. If you are waging a war, there should be one will and one command. There shouldn't be separate forces trying to do their own things against a common enemy. I mean that this Wagner force should be under the umbrella of Russian forces, and they should follow their orders and be part of the common picture, common effort. But they were doing their own thing, and when Shoigu said that they should be absorbed into military, he was right, and this rebellion proved him right, so he will be the beneficiary of this rebellion. So, well, again, Putin lost, Prigozhin lost, but Shoigu gained during this weekend. Okay, thank you very much for listening. Glory to Ukraine, and till next time. Thank you. Bye.